Welcome Top Pro to today's Action R Coaching, and this assignment is to get as many price reductions as possible. It is probably one of the mainstays of your business to master this skill. So how do top producers get price reductions? First, always let your sellers know ahead of time when you're taking the listing that if you get 0 showings, that they're at least 10% overpriced. Also tell them if they get 8 or more showings with no offers, they're at least 5% overpriced. So you see the difference here? One is 0 showings at all, 10% overpriced. Now if you wait until you get no showings to tell them this is not going to work. You have to make sure, maybe even put this in writing ahead of time to show them that this is a possibility. You're going to be monitoring the listing very carefully for the first 2 weeks of the listing term, because that is when you're going to get the most activity in the first 30 days. So it's vital that you monitor the number of showings that you're getting. 10% overpriced if you get no showings, at least. Now, if they do get 8 showings and nobody's making an offer on the house, then because they're getting the people in there, they're probably only about 5% overpriced. But let them know ahead of time that you'll be monitoring for this. Create a specific price reduction campaign of letters, phone calls, and email reminders so that you can count up the number of showings, like send yourself a reminder and count those showings, and then remind yourself to call them within the first 2 weeks. And of course, what's the number one thing you're going to do? You're going to count the number of showings that they got and let them know. If you decide, sometimes, when I've done that and I wanted to take a listing on a really busy street, later I really regretted it, where sometimes you feel like you're begging to get out of the listing because it's just draining you and they're calling and complaining all the time, and it's just a miserable situation to be in. But if you do decide at that time for some reason to take that, then let them know that in 30 days, if the home hasn't sold, that they're going to have to drop their price. So make sure, again, you're doing all of this ahead of time. One other thing is, when you do price a home, let them choose the price, because sometimes they'll say to you, well, you told me to put it at this price, and then they'll never back off that. So make sure you're letting them know that you're recommending a price, but you'll have to test the market, and you'll let them know by the number of showings they get. Now get the seller to agree to meet you at your office or a Starbucks or anywhere that you can every 30 to 45 days to discuss the price of their property and their showings. And in the last letter of this follow-up system or email system that you create ahead of time, the last letter you want to say, I've included a price reduction form with your recommended market price, and I've included another form to cancel the listing. So please sign one of the forms and send it back. Now make sure you have management approval for this. If you really are way overpriced and you feel like it's ruining your reputation with the other agents in the area, or they're just so difficult that it's hard to get out of bed in the morning, just go ahead and give the listing back. And you've done everything you can if you've done all of these steps.